Well, it is 10 o'clock a.m. here on Eastern Time. So whatever time it is where you are, welcome. And thank you for joining our informative webinar about the 2023 Escalator Awards. We're so glad you're here. My name is Caroline Bowman, and I am the project leader for Women as One. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Linda Aguiluz, project coordinator for Women as One. We are both so pleased to be here, and we're going to tell you more about our 2023 Escalator Awards and hopefully answer some of your questions. Just a quick note, we are recording this session, and we will provide you with a link to the recording, which you will be able to share with any colleagues or contacts who could not be here with us today. So just a quick overview of our agenda for today. We're going to be reviewing the award categories and the qualifications for each one. We'll go over the application process step by step, and then we'll provide some tips and useful information that can make your application stand out. We will have time to answer your questions at the end, so please type any questions that you have into the chat window, and we will be monitoring that as we go. So to get us started, I will turn it over to Linda for an overview of the Escalator Awards and how they relate to the mission of Women as One.
Thank you, Caroline. Women as One was created in 2019 by Dr. Roxana Moran and Dr. Marie-Claude Maurice, two internationally recognized leaders in cardiovascular care and research. And the mission of Women as One is to promote talent in medicine by providing unique professional opportunities for women and physicians. And one of the ways that we do that is via the Escalator Awards, which goal is to fortify the pipeline of women leaders by escalating and elevating a highly qualified group of women physicians. And there are many benefits to the Escalator Awards, which include targeted funding, mentorship, and networking opportunities. And by giving this visibility to women in medicine, we hope to develop a more equitable workforce in the future.
Great. Thank you so much, Linda. So I'll just quickly go over the categories for the Escalator Awards this year and the qualifications for each one. So in 2023, we'll be awarding Escalator Award applicants in three distinct categories. The Research Awards are designed for women academic physician scientists who are less than 10 years post-training. This is a $50,000 award, which is intended to be used to fund an approved research project. You must submit a project protocol summary and a budget with your application materials. The next award category is our Mentor Match Awards. This award is designed to create a new mentorship pairing between a woman physician who is more than 10 years post-training and a current fellow. Together, the pair will develop a short research or quality improvement or educational project, which is intended to be completed during the 12-month award cycle. If you're applying for this award, it's helpful if you can include your areas of clinical interest or even some potential project ideas in the letter of interest that you submit with your application. Mentor Match Award amounts are $25,000 for mentors and $10,000 for mentees. And finally, we have our Kickstarter Award category. These smaller microgrants are intended to provide women physicians who are currently practicing in countries with transitional and developing economies with exciting new opportunities for training, networking, and mentorship. We do have a list of eligible countries available on our website. This year, Kickstarter Award winners will be able to attend the upcoming Women as One Rise conference, which will be held in New York in February of 2023. And we will have specific mentoring and networking touchpoints available to award winners during that conference. So Linda will go over just a few testimonials from our past winners, and then we'll move into some application details.
Yes, thank you, Caroline. The impact of the Escalator Awards has had on our winners goes beyond the money that they receive for this project. This really emboldens and elevates the career of highly qualified women physicians. And we have here a few quotes from some of our winners from this previous year, including Dr. Amber Johnson, who is an assistant professor of medicine and clinical translational science at the University of Pittsburgh, as well as Dr. Akila Versali, our winner for the Kickstarter Award, who is currently working in the only public pediatric center, cardiac surgical center in Algeria. So as Dr. Amber Johnson would say, Women as One stands as an exemplary organization of female cardiologists that are there for one another, support one another, and sponsor one another, which really speaks to the impact of the Escalator Awards.
Great. Thanks so much, Linda. So for 2023, we have implemented a few changes to our award structure to try and increase the impact of the Escalator Awards program. First, we have included new medical subspecialties, which you can see listed on your screen. Accepted subspecialties do vary by award, so make sure that you check the details for your award category, or please feel free to email us with any questions about that. Secondly, this year we are requiring that projects being considered for a research award must benefit the population of an underserved community. This aligns with our mission and will hopefully allow us to highlight the impactful and much needed research being done. Finally, we have changed the structure of our Kickstarter Awards program a little bit to bring those recipients together with the shining stars of the medical community at our upcoming RISE conference. We'll be able to provide networking and mentoring opportunities for our award winners that we hope will be really impactful in their career. So now we're going to get into how do you apply for the Escalator Awards. And the first step to an application is to create a profile in our Women as One talent directory. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my slides and turn it over to Linda, who's going to share a live demonstration of what it looks like to register for the talent directory.
Perfect. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. So once you go into the Women as One landing page, the first thing you're going to see in the upper right-hand corner is a talent directory login. Once you click on that, then it will prompt you to create an account if you do not already have one. And this is where you're going to be putting your basic information, such as your first, last name, email address, and a strong enough password. And once you click register, you'll be able to log in into the talent directory and build your profile. Once you log in into the talent directory, you will see your member dashboard where you will see that you are in great company with 1,800 completed profiles of highly qualified women physicians around the world. And here is where you're going to complete your Women as One profile for the talent directory. This is critical for you to get connected to multiple professional development opportunities. And again, you can click on update my profile, but let's view this profile so you can get a better idea of what it is included in there. Here you can include your personal statement as well as your professional information. The more information you provide to us, the more opportunities you're gonna get access to, as well as your research network and any links that you have available for any research presentations you may have. Once your profile is fully updated, you can see that under programs, you can see the 2023 Escalator Awards application. If you click on that, it will take you to the 2023 Escalator Awards application. And this is where you're going to review the application instructions and eligibility criteria if you do happen to have any questions. As Caroline mentioned, we do have a list of eligible countries here for the Kickstarter Awards. And first, you're going to go ahead and select the award that you're going to be applying for, either the Research Mentor Match Award or Kickstarter Award, in your subspecialty area of interest where is applicable. Next up, you're going to upload your letter of interest. This letter of interest should be in a PDF format. As you can see, most of the files that you need to submit will be in a PDF format. So make sure that they are in the format that we're asking for seamless transition. Then you're going to be uploading your letters of recommendation where applicable, proof of good standing, your protocol synopsis, and your project budget. Your project budget could be both in a PDF or an Excel format. And finally, you're going to give us permission to share your contact information just to make sure that your talent directory profile is appropriately shared with sponsors. And then you're gonna go ahead and click submit here in the lower right-hand corner. If you do have any issues with the interface, we do have some help in here where you can ask for technical assistance where needed.
Great. Thank you so much, Linda. I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen so that we can see the rest of the slides. There we go. So just to quickly recap the process, there we go. You want to complete your talent directory profile first. Make sure that you make this as complete as possible because this shares valuable information with the review committee. So include your CV, your headshot, your personal statement, anything that you feel helps your application and your profile stand out. Next, make sure that you add any required documents to your application. So research applicants will be submitting a protocol synopsis. Note that this is not a full protocol. It's just a synopsis. We want to see some detail about the project, but we don't need the whole protocol here, and a budget as well. And then your letters of recommendation, your letter of interest, and your proof of good standing with your local medical licensing body. And then you will receive a confirmation email from us once you submit your application. If you do not receive this email, make sure to check your spam folders. But if you really don't get it, something may have gone wrong. So just to be sure, please reach out to us and we can ensure that we've received your application. So just a few tips now to kind of go over our review process as well as what makes a strong Escalator Awards application. My apologies. I'm a little under the weather today, but it's okay. So for the review process, each year we invite a diverse group of experienced physicians from around the world to review the applications in each category. And these are really leaders in the field, and they will be assessing your application on several criteria, including the strength of your letter of interest, your project idea, if applicable, as well as your letters of recommendation. We will also look at your level of need and your readiness for the award in terms of escalation of your career. Is this the right time for you to receive an award like this? Another consideration for us is representation of a variety of subspecialties as well as geographic locations among the award winners. So if you know that there are likely to be a lot of people from your subspecialty or geographic location applying for this award, it's helpful to include some information in your letter of interest that explains why your application is unique in these respects. And just a few general tips for completing your application. Make sure you add as much information as possible to your talent directory profile. So this includes, like we said, your headshot, personal statement, experience level, CV. So we really look at this when we're reviewing applications because this is how we get to know you as an applicant. So your complete profile will provide helpful context for those reviewing your application. Next, think about what makes your application unique. Sometimes a personal story can add depth to the application, and we will have reviewers who will advocate for a candidate whose story is meaningful to them. So make sure you include that in your letter of interest, which is one of the most important documents that you're submitting with your application. Just a point of order, be sure to provide complete application documents. Unfortunately, we can't consider any applications that are missing one or more of the required elements. And finally, the mission of Women as One is to increase gender equity in the medical field. One of the ways that we strive toward this goal is by elevating more women to positions of leadership, which is really the basis for the Escalator Awards program in general. So you might consider adding some ideas to your letter of interest about how you would use the boost provided by this funding to elevate the careers of other women in your network, and how you can share the message of Women as One. If you include something about how to spread the word about our efforts, this is really helpful in helping our reviewers understand what you will do with the award and how it will impact your career. Now, just a few tips that are specific to each award category. If you're applying for the research award, you want to include as much detail as possible about the project in your protocol synopsis and budget. So make sure that your project is otherwise ready to move forward if the funding is provided. For example, you have IRB approval, or you're reasonably assured that you're going to get IRB approval, and that you have institutional support to complete the project if funding is provided. Include your protocol synopsis only, not the full protocol as mentioned. And please make sure that this is a research project. Unfortunately, the intent of the Escalator Award is not to provide background funding for projects like building a lab. We're really looking for a research project that adds to the base of scientific knowledge here. For the Mentor Match Award, mentees should be as specific as possible about your clinical areas of interest, any ideas that you might have for a collaborative project, and what you hope to gain from the mentorship. For mentor applicants, again, specifically outlining clinical areas of interest is helpful to ensure a good match. And also provide some detail about what you feel makes a successful mentor-mentee relationship and how you plan to foster that if you are paired with a mentee. Kickstarter Award applicants should provide as much detail as possible in your letter of interest, including a brief description of your current practice, any goals for the future, and how this award might help you elevate your career. So now we'll have some time to answer your questions. And as we said, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. and we will go ahead and answer those. Linda, do you see any questions in the chat?
Yes, actually, we do have a question. For the Mentor-Mentee Award, is being a student in an academic Master of Science program relevant, or should it just be a fellowship program?
That is a good question. Normally mentees are fellows, but I would say that you can go ahead and submit an application and it will be considered if we have an appropriate mentor that would match with you. I think that it might be somewhat more difficult to find a mentor who would match with that clinical interest, but we would certainly try.
Excellent. We do have a couple more questions for you. Navanita Sasikumar, I am 5 years post last training, which was an interventional fellowship. I've recently joined a new facility and I'm starting the first adult congenital heart disease clinic in my country, which is a developing economy. Can I apply to the Kickstarter? And will this help set up this clinic, including a database, etc.?
Got it. Yeah. So the Kickstarter funding this year is going to be used to send applicants to the RISE conference in New York in February, where there will be plenty of opportunities available for networking and mentorship. And certainly I think that would be helpful towards setting up your clinic, but the intent of the funding for the Kickstarter Award is not to be used to set up a clinic. I think that it would be better to apply for that with the intent of gaining knowledge and networking connections that will help you apply for future funding to set up the clinic down the road.
Excellent. What is the optimal number of pages for the letters of intent for the research award?
Yeah, I don't really know an optimal number of pages, but I think that the goal here is to explain what you're doing in as concise a manner as possible, but to give our reviewers a real snapshot of what you want to do with the award and with your research project. So I think just include as much relevant detail as possible while leaving out things that may not be relevant to the award application. Hope that helps. I don't know really an optimal number of pages, but good question.
Another question, is there a word limit for each of the answers in the application?
No, there's no word limit. You can submit a PDF document. I suppose you could have an unlimited number of pages in the PDF document, but you want to be aware that our reviewers will be going through each application. And last year we received over 100 applications for the various 3 award categories. So concise is the word of the day here.
Could you clarify about the population of an underserved community?
Right. Okay. So understood that that's a little bit broad and that can be broadly applied to a variety of research projects. Basically, we're looking for a research project that makes an impact on a community that may be currently underserved. So, pregnant women would be an underserved community. We have another Escalator Award winner this year who's looking at socioeconomic determinants of healthcare. And so she's working with some geographically and racially diverse communities in her home city. So this is a broad category. And I think if you can explain that in your letter of interest, that would be the best possible outcome here for you to submit your application.
All right, another question. If I apply for the research award and don't get selected, will I be automatically considered for the mentor-mentee or Kickstarter award?
Great question. So we do have this happen sometimes where an applicant applies for a research award and does not qualify. For example, we have applicants who are more than 10 years post-training who apply for research awards, and then generally our review committee will transfer their application to the mentor category if the applicant agrees. So if that happens, we will reach out to you specifically and ask whether you'd prefer to have your application transferred to another category and whether you'd like to resubmit materials if that is the case. So it's not so much if you don't get selected, it's more if we review your application initially and find that you don't qualify for one of the award categories based on either level of training or subspecialty or something else.
All right. Regarding the research award, can we apply research project which will be finished in 3 years, or should it be just a 1-year project?
Great question. Yeah, we're happy to follow research projects that extend beyond the award window, as long as the funding will be relevant to the completion of the project. So we have some Escalator Award winners from 2020 and 2021 who are still working on their research project. And we're happy to follow them and amplify that work long beyond, the completion of the one-year awards window. But we hope that you would provide acknowledgement to Women as One when you are eventually published with the results of the project, and that you would continue to stay in touch with us beyond the window of the award.
Is changing from one category to another of awards considered by the committee?
Yeah, so as mentioned, we do sometimes have this situation come up. Again, we will reach out to you directly if this is something that we want to do. So for example, if you don't qualify for the research award or you don't qualify for the mentee award, we can reach out to you to see if you want to move your application to another category. But if you don't hear from us, then expect that we are considering your application in the category in which you applied. So when you're considering what category to apply for, try to choose the one that works best for you. And I see also someone asked, is it possible to apply for more than one category? And unfortunately, the answer to that question is no. We really can only accept your application once. But again, we can consider it in more than one category if applicable.
Awesome. So when you ask which year post-training we are, do you mean which year we graduated from medical school or the year you finish your cardiology training?
So generally, and this is something that varies globally, I know. So we have, some things in the US with fellowship that maybe don't take place in other places. So I think that the year that you graduated from medical school, we consider to be the finish of your training. And then if you're a cardiology fellow, then you would be considered for the mentee award. If you finished your fellowship or your cardiology training as it applies to you locally, then you can be considered for one of the other award categories.
Awesome. We have another question. I haven't finished my cardiology training yet, but I finished my interventional cardiology training 2 years ago. Can I apply for the research award?
Yes. Yes, you can. And I think just detail, the point at which you are in your career, in your letter of interest, as well as in your CV that's posted to the talent directory, and our reviewers will consider that when they're reviewing your application.
Excellent. And one last question, how many awards are you given this year in each category?
Good question. And that will really depend on our funding, which the funding picture is not complete at this point. So that's really TBD. We'll need to review all the applications that we get and determine then how many awards we can give out and in which categories. I might go over just a few other frequently asked questions just to make sure that we're covering all of our bases here. Sometimes people ask if they've applied in a previous year, can they apply again? And the answer to that question is yes. And we encourage this. Many of our previous award winners were applicants before they became winners. So it really does pay to refine your application and try again. The other question we get a lot is whether established mentorship pairs should apply together. And the answer to that question is no. We're really intending here to create a new pairing cross-institutionally so that we can create a new connection. And we've really seen the results of some of these connections, and they're creating exciting work together and forging new friendships from around the world. So that's something that's really exciting for us. Looks like we have a couple more questions, Linda.
Yes, we do. Will we receive feedback from our applications if we are unsuccessful?
Oh, good question. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the staff bandwidth to be able to provide individualized feedback from each application. But I will just tell you, having done this for several years and seen kind of the feedback that's been provided, really, especially for the research awards, really carefully consider, excuse me, the impact of your research and the feasibility of your project, and whether this award will help you, will be something that helps you move toward completion of that project. So we are looking for a project that is going to add something to the database of scientific knowledge, but that also can be completed if you receive the boost provided by this funding. We're also looking for complete applications And we are looking for uniqueness in applications in many ways. So like I said, if you can detail in your letter of interest what makes your project stand out, that's going to be really helpful toward your application being successful.
All right, so another question, should we have an idea with a detailed protocol and the necessary logistics setup? Is it possible to get funding and additional mentor input via the Escalator Awards?
So the research award is intended to provide funding for a research project that is feasible to be completed if the funding is provided. So the background work needs to be kind of done on your end when you submit the application. So that's something that we're looking for, as mentioned, feasibility of the project. But yes, you absolutely would receive not only the funding, but also mentor input. So one of the key pieces of the Escalator Awards program is the quarterly mentorship calls, during which our award winners provide a project update on the status and milestones of their current project. But we also have on that call Women as One founding directors, as well as review committee members and members of our research task force, who are really leaders in the field and able to provide some very valuable input about where to submit for additional funding, what journals to submit to, even contacts in their network who might be able to help you move your project forward. So certainly the mentorship component is there. We're looking for a study that is feasible when you submit your application. Hope that helps.
Yes. In the case of cooperation with foreign centers, is it necessary to document the establishment of cooperation when submitting the application?
That is a good question that might require a more specific answer. So maybe reach out to me by email with more details about that. But generally, yes, we want to make sure that the project can move forward if funding is provided. So again, you want to do the rest of the legwork on your end to make sure that you're ready to go if you are successful with your application.
For the Mentor Match Award, do the mentees go to the Mentors Institute, so the academic institution, to work with them and get mentorship, or how does this work?
So that is really dependent on the individual pairing. I know that we have one pairing this year, for example, where the mentee applicant is in Mozambique, and she actually came to Cleveland, where her mentor is, to get some training and be introduced to, how the clinic runs there, and, to meet a bunch of people and really get some valuable on the ground experience. That's something that they set up through their award funding, and certainly is a path that's open to our mentors and mentees. In other cases, that hasn't been feasible, but they've been able to connect virtually and still provide the valuable mentorship and input that we're looking for through this award.
Can you clarify for the mentee awards, if both mentors and mentees apply separately for individual projects, how does the funding or final project works?
Got it. So for the mentor and mentee awards, we're not really looking for a fully fleshed project idea. We're just looking for your areas of clinical interest and what you think you might do. The intent with that is for the mentor and mentee pair to work together to come up with a project that they can do during the 12-month award cycle. So for example, with one of our mentor-mentee pairs this year, the mentee was looking for quality improvement in the clinic that they were helping to staff on the ground. So our mentor, jumped in and had some suggestions for quality improvement. They did a project together to improve nurse training. So certainly the mentee can come in with some established ideas or goals for the mentorship pairing, and the mentor can as well. And the idea is for you two to then work together to move those goals forward.
Excellent. That seems to be all the questions that we have.
Okay.
A lot.
That was good. Just a few more.
One last question. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Actually two.
Okay.
For the mentor match program, should the mentee suggest potential mentors by name as respected leading physicians in the field?
Not really, no. We're looking for two people who have applied to the program. So we're looking for a mentor who has applied for the Mentor Award because they have an interest in adding this to their portfolio, and then a mentee with similar clinical interests who's applied. And we're hoping to make that cross-institutional pairing. So we will make that pairing. I understand that there are lots of people who might be great mentors, but we're looking for someone who's really demonstrated an interest and a desire to move that forward for this year.
Last question for now. Do Kickstarter Award winners have to spend the funds to attend the RISE meeting?
So that is the intent of the Kickstarter Award funding for 2023. And we ran into some problems providing that funding, in a more open-ended way with our 2022 program. So when we were refining the program for 2023, we came up with the idea to bring the Kickstarter Award winners to the RISE conference to hopefully give them some networking and mentorship opportunities that might not be available to them on the ground where they live. And then we will continue to follow them and amplify their work throughout their award cycle and beyond. I see a few more questions.
Yeah, great questions. What happens after the Mentee Award? Presentation or report on the 12-month work done through the program?
That is the intent, yes. And we do have a few that have continued beyond the 12-month award cycle, but the intent would be to present or publish even something after the 12 months of work is finished. So we have a few who did, a research project together. We have a couple others who did more of a quality improvement project. We have one pairing who did a mentorship survey and a pilot mentorship program, and now they're expanding that out. So we hope to create a pairing that lasts much longer than the 12-month award cycle, but we are looking for some kind of presentation or overview of work at the end of the award cycle.
And if successful, when does the award start?
So the award cycle goes from January 1st to December 31st. So our timetable for awards, and this is actually a great question for us to outline the upcoming timetable for Escalator Awards. The application window will close at the end of this month. So on September 30th, you want to make sure that you get all your application materials in by then. It's possible that might be extended by a few days, but it will really depend on how many applications we have by September 30th. So please make sure that you get your application in on time. Once we close out the applications, our review window will begin, and that will extend through the end of October, at which point we'll identify a short list of finalists for each award category and schedule individual video interviews with those finalists. Once we complete the video interview process, we will determine the winners for each award, and in early December, we'll announce the winners. Then the award cycle will officially begin on January 1, and we'll have our first quarterly mentorship meeting sometime in January, where the award recipients will introduce themselves to our mentorship committee and begin presentations about their project, and then we will follow them throughout the year cycle.
And another question, if I want to gain advanced imaging training, should I apply for the Mentor Match Award or the Kickstarter Award to get funds for that?
So probably not the Kickstarter Award for advanced imaging training, although you certainly could apply to that and outline your goals for that in your letter of interest. And we could try to provide the networking opportunities to make that possible for you. Most likely you should apply for the Mentor Match Award and look to be paired with a mentor who can help you access that training.
And for the Mentee Award, there is also a proposed budget for the project?
So what we've seen in the past is that Mentor Award winners will receive $25,000. A lot of times that is used at least partially to provide them with the protected time that they need to work their mentorship into their already standing clinical schedule. The mentees receive $10,000. Very often, a portion of those funds is pooled together to achieve the project, and the rest of the funding can be used to provide travel to various conferences where they can meet each other or to provide opportunities for them to work together in some way.
And will you please go through the timeline and the best award to apply for if you have a project with a protocol on paper?
Okay, so if you're looking for a funding for a research project, then you should probably apply for the research award. Make sure that you qualify for the award so you're less than 10 years post-training and that you have a project which will eventually benefit the population of an underserved community. Timeline, again, we're looking for applications to be submitted by the end of September. We will close applications on September 30th. Or thereabouts. And then we will be reviewing applications through October with individual video interviews to be scheduled with finalists in November and award recipients to be announced at the beginning of December.
Awesome. Can you please share a couple of research projects which have won in past years?
Okay, yes. So we just had our research award winner mentorship call the other day. So I'm a little bit familiar with some of the projects that were research award winners in 2022. So one of our award winners, Dr. Amber Johnson from Pittsburgh, is looking at social determinants of health. So she is looking at kind of the intersection of technology and access to things like broadband internet and smartphones and how that can increase compliance with medical health directives. So she's working with a population that have been diagnosed with hypertension and following that population via a smartphone app, which will suggest medical interventions and monitor their symptoms. And she's looking at how that technology can be used to better improve their outcomes. So that's one of our winning projects from last year. We also have another, Dr. Rebecca Cogswell from the University of Minnesota, who's working with heart failure patients. And she's using a nationwide database to compare measurements of muscle mass in healthy patients with those in heart failure patients and kind of determine what thresholds are clinically significant, as well as interventions that they can do, to improve outcomes and the timeline for such interventions. So those are a couple of our winning projects from last year. There were 2 more winners from last year as well, and lots of winners from previous years who have completed exciting research.
Awesome. I'm in training. Can you still apply for the research award if you are in training as in a fellow?
No. So fellows should really look to apply for the Mentor Match Award as a mentee. And if you have a project that you want to do and you are looking to apply for the Mentee Award, then just put that project outline in your letter of interest, and we'll look to pair you with a mentor who can possibly help you complete that project or who can help you sort of amass the resources that you would need to complete it in the future.
Excellent. Is there any obligation of how the budget for research awards should be used, as in limitation for cost for materials, cost for equipment, etc.?
Great question. That's one that we get quite a bit. So the funding is fairly open-ended. However, we are looking at whether the funding used will be something that moves the research project forward in a meaningful way. So while it may be true that having a graduate assistant or, a member of the staff and using the budget to pay for that member of staff might move the project forward, this is something that you really want to detail in your letter of interest, because that's something that will be scrutinized by the review committee. We want to make sure that we're not just providing funding for your institution in general, but that we're providing specific targeted funding that will move your project forward toward completion.
Excellent. That looks to be the last question, unless anybody has any other questions or concerns.
While people are typing, if there are any more questions, I'll just go over a couple of more questions that get frequently asked when we do these awards. I think we have one, what information needs to be included in the letter of interest? And I will say here, and this is important for all categories of the award, that your letter of interest should really be as detailed as possible to explain why you are ready for this award or why it will be helpful in your career and how you will then pay that forward to the other women in your community. So this is your chance really to introduce yourself to the review committee and to provide them with information about why you're the ideal recipient for this award. So make sure that you take advantage of that when completing your letter of interest. And then
Another question.
another question. Good.
Yeah. Can a big meta-analysis be considered for a research project?
Yes, it can, but I think that my advice for that would be then to really detail in the letter of interest how this will impact the scientific knowledge base as a whole and what your intent is going forward beyond that meta-analysis. So
Yes.
certainly,
So they actually elaborated on this. So this meta-analysis is the first step of a clinical trial.
Okay, yes, I think that that would be considered, but again, just provide as much detail as possible about what this will do for you personally, as well as for, for scientific knowledge in general, and how this will benefit, for example, an underserved community.
And can you supply 2 ideas as a project?
You can, but my advice would be to focus on the one that you feel is most relevant and really put your focus there instead of providing more than one. It seems like that would be more concise for the reviewers.
All right, that seems to be everything for now.
Well, I hope we've been able to answer some of your questions about the 2023 Escalator Awards. But of course, if you need additional information, please reach out to our team at any time. Again, my name is Caroline Bowman. You can email me directly, and my email is on the screen. And Linda's email is also on the screen. And you can email our colleagues as well. But yeah, please feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions or clarification that you would need. And we hope that this has been helpful for you as you look to apply for the Escalator Awards. Linda, do we have any more questions?
Yeah. So how to decide in which category should I apply when I have a very important research project to do and I want to learn things as a mentee from a mentor?
It's hard to decide. I know. I think that that is really a personal decision. And of course, as mentioned, a mentee can complete a research project as well in conjunction with their mentor, if that's something that you decide to do together. Another consideration there is your level of training. So if you're currently a fellow, then you're probably looking to apply as a mentee. If you're not currently a fellow, then you would be looking to apply for the research award, which is intended for those who are early in their careers but have completed their training.
Excellent. That was the last question. 33 questions today.
Great. Thank you so much to our attendees today for your participation, for your great questions. We really appreciate you being here and hope this has been educational for you. I see that that person also asked what we mean by current fellow. This is someone who's still in training for cardiology specifically. So this is different in different countries, but if you have not yet completed your cardiology training or some kind of cardiology training, then you probably would be considered a current fellow or equivalent. Again, if you have a specific question about your situation, please feel free to reach out to us directly and we can provide more specific information. But yes, generally, if you're still in training for cardiology or another subspecialty, then you're probably a current fellow. If you're finished with your training and involved in academic research, then you're probably looking for the research award. So I hope that's been helpful to clarify. If not, please feel free to email myself or Linda for more information. And on behalf of Linda and all my colleagues at Women as One, we really appreciate your interest in the 2023 Escalator Awards, and we wish all of you the best of luck with your applications. Thank you so much for being here today. Take care, everyone.
Bye.